Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. Today, we're going to review a new album, a debut album, entitled Shallow Bed by the band Dry the River. Kind of a quirky, very clever album title, isn't it?
Works with the band name a
It
little
does.
bit, yeah.
So, Dry the River. This is a band that is getting an obscene amount of hype right now. A little over-justified, in my opinion, just based on the quality that this album is. We're going to go into depth here. I still think that this... I have a favorable view of this album. I'm not in love with it, but a favorable view. I see a lot of promise here. This is a band that is living right now in Mumford & Sons' shadow. Sigh No More, an album that came out in 2009 by Mumford & Sons, got huge! It was so big. Everyone loves Mumford & Sons. If you don't love Mumford & Sons, you're probably like ostracized about it because people like Mumford & Sons so much. It's kind of like being the one guy who doesn't like the Arcade Fire. You just get picked on in school. All right, well... Dry the River is you know, trying to go for that sound. It's described as actually the head guy behind Dry the River. His last name is Little. He described the sound as being folksy gospel music played by a post-punk band. Just use your imagination to think about what that means. So. One of the things, you know, is just a wide variety of instruments. I love that he tried to self-describe this as post-rock because it has a lot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Right, post-punk. Yeah. But I get a lot of post-rock from it too. You know, the post-punk,
in the ambience, the mood, yeah.
Yes. The post-punk is in the guitars and in the drums, right? Mm-hmm. But the post-rock is in the structure of how they approach the songwriting. Mm-hmm. These songs, every single song on this album blows up. At some point in time, it goes like this. Boom! And it just gets really crazy loud, and you have just this euphoric anthem at the end.
Kind of like Woo Life, actually.
Yes,
a little bit.
It is, except much more defined. Tom, what were your thoughts? How would you help describe this sound?
The sound itself, I would compare it to, like the songwriting and like the vocal style immediately made me think of Shearwater.
Yeah.
Another 2012 album, Animal Life, or Animal Joy, yeah, that we reviewed a while back that I really liked. But where this takes a turn is that it's produced to be very washy sounding, more than the kind of straightforward rock sound, which is where you said that kind of post-rock and post-punk comes into it, because both of those styles are about atmosphere.
Right.
And this album is very much about atmosphere, even more so than rocking out. You know, when you get to those builds, it's all about the kind of feeling of it, rather than just punching you right in the face. Right. And I really actually didn't like this album much at first, and it started to grow on me, but it took me a while because I just thought that sound was so hard to penetrate and really think about because I couldn't get past it to the songwriting. Once I was able to focus on the songwriting and the songs became a little more clear and I could kind of brush off the haze and the cobwebs that was sitting on top of them, and I could see what they were doing with the songs, I liked it more.
Right. And I think there's two main reasons why, because I had the same experience where I was having trouble actually getting to the core of the music. It just kind of washed over me. And once I started digging deeper, I noticed two big things. I'm going to let you talk about one of them, but I'll jump in here.
You get the other.
In the songwriting, they just flood it with all these instruments. You know, typically you have, this is a lot of really cool guitar parts in this album. That's something that I got a kick out of. I kind of described it as like arena post-folk rock. I mean, like, you get these guitar parts that are just larger than life at times, and really in the builds, you know, just, you know, high-pitched strumming and stuff, kind of like, almost like what Explosions in the Sky does at times, and it's just, but with the vocals that are put on it, you know, the vocalist is not screaming, but he's belting it out, you know, really passionate vocals, and then they're just flooding it with horns and strings and piano, and you just get this just overwhelming sense of sound, and it's hard to get through it all. It really is just muddled. And the tracks that I like the best are when they didn't do that. It's when, like, tracks like track 10, Weights and Measures, where it's just a much more visceral intensity. It's based entirely off of the guitar work.
Sorry.
That's all right, man.
Trying to hold back a sneeze. Couldn't do it.
Bless you. I think that's the first Velocities in Music sneeze.
I think it might be.
Wow.
That's crazy. 400 on. Now we got to reset the track record. Okay, back to the music.
Reminds me of Seinfeld when Jerry went like 10 years without puking. Anyways, So this sound is just really, really dense, and it doesn't need to be. It's actually, it serves the band better when they don't go over the top with everything, which that's kind of what this whole album was all about, just taking things to such an extreme level that you don't know how to digest it.
And that leads right into the other big problem, which is the production and the mixing. Absolutely kills this album. I cannot think of a better example of an album where the production completely works against the songwriting. It just ruined the album for me. And it took me a while to notice because I thought, I'm like, is it the songwriting? Is it this? Is it the American burn? No, it's the production. It's because they have this explosive guitar sound, but what do? Instead of turning the guitars up, they have them way down in the mix. When the guy is belting it in tracks like No Rest and Weights and Measures, which are actually two of the best written songs on the album, it is completely stifled because the vocals are so over-compressed and low in the mix that they're just this like faint wailing in the background. And instead, the emphasis in the mix is placed on these ambient kind of like string sounds and atmosphere, which really like needs to be there, but it doesn't thicken things up.
No, because it
doesn't bring the intensity.
That's right.
And it doesn't highlight the intensity that's happening in the vocals and in the guitars. Everything's just so far pushed down with just this wash on top of it that you don't get any of the dynamics, you don't get any of the intensity, and it just killed it for me.
Yeah, and a byproduct is even, one thing we kind of said with part of the one criticism I have with the songwriting is that every single track on this album does build. They never can just stay soft. They're always just there's no ballads on this album. They try to build every single song up to this climactic just anthem, and that's kind of tacky. It's kind of an amateur thing to do, which is okay. It's euphoric. They're young. They're doing this thing, trying out this new sound that they're really going for, and I appreciate that. So I can ride that train. But what bothers me is because of the production, there is absolutely no dynamics. Even when this band is trying to play soft, it's still really loud. And I can't get past that. There's just no dynamic intensity on this album.
Another thing with the tracks just building after building after building tracks, it shows that they're not really thinking about their music in a larger context. They're just kind of writing song after song, which is cool, I guess.
Great live show.
Yeah, but then what happens when you put it onto an album? They don't work together quite as well. And then you have the production kind of working against it, and it just made it a little tough. And it was a very mixed feeling for me because I like a lot of the songwriting. I admire it. I admire the sound. I like the performance of it. I just feel like it's being ruined a little bit.
Yeah, these guys have a lot of things going for them. They clearly have a direction and a sound that they're trying to achieve. They're aggressively going after it, sometimes too aggressive. And it's just a matter of they need to calm down, take a higher level view of what they're doing, and then just focus it. And they need to fire their producer and get somebody else in there that knows what the hell they're doing, because it was abysmal. It was just bad, and I can't. That's kind of just the core of the record. Now, while this is a superbly frustrating listen, I gotta say there were moments of just pure genius here where I'm just blown away going, wow, this is really powerful. And while those are few and far between, it's worth, they're so good that it's worth a few of the grimaces that you have. And if you have to swallow hard to choke this thing down, it might be worth it just so you can kind of get a feel for it, because I'm hoping, and we'll see with, just their advanced fame that they're getting, this huge amount of fame already. We'll see if they come back with something that's worth listening, because a lot of times when bands, get famous, they don't really continue to produce
quality. They don't work
as hard. Right.
Yeah.
We're going to pretend like they're going to, and I'm really excited to hear what these guys do next. Hopefully it's in the right direction. Right now, on this one, I'm sitting at a 72.
I'm right there, 72.
What do you guys think? Are you really loving Dry the River's debut? Let us know. If you do, or if you don't like it too, because it's all good. It's all just about what you get out of it. So let us know, www.velocitiesinmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesinmusic. Also, please follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. That's where we do all of our communication with you, and you are what makes VIMTV run. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.